Welcome back to Shimpling Park Farm Diary, where we're bringing the farm to you in these isolating times. Well, it's been blisteringly hot this week, but everything does seem to have carried on growing. These are the twins. They're getting really quite big now. Where we haven't got permanent water supplies on grass and clover fields, we have temporary bowsers, and they are drinking a lot because, of course, the mothers are producing lots of milk. But interestingly, there's lots of shade in the rest of the field, but they're choosing to lie out in the sun near the water butt. We're pretty desperate for rain now. This is the field of oats that we looked at on last week's farm diary, and it's still growing, but it's very, very thirsty now. I'm in the middle of the farm where we have an ancient coppiced woodland, mainly hazel. This is a woodland which was traditionally grown for its timber crop. And a coppice is where you cut a tree down at the base like that, and you protect its roots and you protect its shoots from grazing deer, and up will grow new shoots. So it's like you're growing a tree crop. As you can see, the wood is fenced to keep the deer out. We coppice the wood on a rotation of about 20-25 years. We cut this bit down about 5 years ago, and look at the size of that field maple. And there's a lovely standard oak, which we'll leave obviously. And this section of the wood was coppiced last year. It looks really dramatic and kind of awful, except you can see that it is already sprouting. There is a hazel stalk, and up is coming the new hazel branches. We leave all the brush on the floor to rot down. It's no good to us as fuel, and it gives food and habitat for insects and vertebrates. Because you've got the wood at different stages, you've got a real variety of habitats. This is a protected site of special scientific interest, an SSSI. So it's very exciting to see what grows at different times and with different levels of light. There you can see a little ash sapling, and that is the crop, all this timber. So we've just had an arrival in the yard of Matthew Goodell's fantastic tree grabber. Matthew does the coppicing work in the winter when the sap is down and there are no leaves on the trees, but last winter was so wet he couldn't possibly cart the timber through the wood without doing lots of damage to the tracks. So he's come back to pick it up and take it to the wood pile. He picks them up as easy as you might a bunch of pencils. So he's actually steering behind him, looking in one direction and steering in another. And he's off with a full load to put it on our wood pile. We contract Matthew in to do this work. It's very specialist. The equipment is expensive and difficult to operate, and he is a true expert. And when all the coppice timber is dry, we'll rent in an enormous chipping machine, which will then turn it into this. The wood chip then goes into an enormous pile and self-feeds into the boiler. And it heats all our water and central heating. The water goes down these pipes and is fed around the farm. Whilst it looks pretty dramatic when it's first cut, in 2 years' time it will look like that over there, and in 10 to 15 years' time it will look like that. Meanwhile, it would have been a good habitat for millions of little beasties and birds and bats, and it will have heated all our hot water and central heating on the farm so that we don't need to rely on fuels, or on oils should I say. As an organic farmer, we are constantly at war with weeds. This is one of our grass and clover lays, which is feeding the soil ready for the next cereal crop, and we use it for grazing the sheep. But we can't let the weeds take over, so this year we're having to mow them before they shed viable seeds, then we'll graze the clover with the sheep. We stagger the mowing so as to ensure a constant supply of clover flowers for our pollinating, foraging insects. Also, once we cut the clover, the flowers will come again. Andrew's really enjoying the newly reconstructed mower. This is the wheat crop that we planted last autumn that we looked at on the very first week of the farm diary. It's about to come on here. It's really grown up, it's nice and clean, but it is actually very short because it's desperate for some moisture now. All the ewes have been shorn this week, which will protect them from fly strike and keep them a bit more comfortable in this hot weather. As the week comes to an end, we still haven't had any rain, and Robert is busy driving water around the farm to keep the sheep hydrated, but we'll see what happens next week.